My mother demanded I put her name on my business, insisting I raised you, so I deserve half. When I refused, she snapped, "I'll just tell everyone you stole the idea from me." The next day, at a family gathering, my lawyer pulled out my business registration from years ago. The room fell silent as she realized she had no claim. I never thought my own mother would be the person trying to ruin me. I know a lot of people have complicated relationships with their parents, but my mom is something else. She isn't just overbearing, controlling, or guilt-tripping. She's the kind of person who truly believes that everything her children achieve is something she owns. I grew up hearing how much I owed her. If she bought me shoes, she'd bring it up for years. If she let me stay at a friend's house, she'd remind me how much she sacrificed by allowing it. If I disagreed with her, I was ungrateful. If I wanted something for myself, I was selfish. I knew, deep down, that one day she'd try to take credit for something big in my life. I just didn't know she'd be this bold about it. I was raised by a single mom in Queens, New York. My dad left when I was a kid, and my mom made sure I never forgot that she did it all alone. What she left out was how much she resented doing it. She didn't encourage me in school. She didn't push me toward college. If anything, she wanted me to stay close, work a basic job, and hand over my paycheck. But I had other plans. I got into NYU Stern School of Business on a scholarship. She wasn't happy. Instead of being proud, she made comments like, "Must be nice to go to school while I have to work. I guess you're too good for your own mother now." I hope you don't forget who made all this possible. It took everything in me to not snap back because I knew it wouldn't get me anywhere. After graduation, I started working in marketing and saved every penny I could. A few years later, I launched my own digital marketing business in Brooklyn. It was small, but it was mine. My mother didn't ask about it, didn't congratulate me, barely acknowledged it, which honestly was fine by me. Then, out of nowhere, she called me over for dinner. I should have known something was off the second she invited me. My mom doesn't cook for me unless she wants something. I get to her place and she's all smiles. Too nice. Pouring wine. Acting like we're the Gilmore Girls. And then, just as I'm starting to let my guard down, she drops it. "I've been thinking. Since I raised you alone, I should be part of your business. You should put my name on it. 50-50. It's only fair." I laughed. Out loud. Not the best reaction, but come on. It was so out of nowhere and so delusional that I thought she was joking. She was not joking. "What's so funny?" she snapped. I looked at her like she had two heads. "Mom, no." "What?" "No. I built this myself." "You didn't help." She cut me off before I could finish. "Oh, don't you dare. Who kept you alive? Who fed you? If it weren't for me, you'd have nothing." Her voice was getting louder. "You don't think I deserve something back for all I did? You wouldn't be where you are if I didn't take care of you." I tried to stay calm. "Mom, you didn't even support me when I was building this. You don't even know what I do. Doesn't matter," she screamed. At this point, I just stared at her. She took a deep breath, lowered her voice, and hit me with this. "If you don't do this, I'll just tell everyone you stole the business idea from me." I swear, I almost asked if she was feeling okay. "Mom, you don't even know what my business does. You have no idea how marketing works. What are you even talking about?" She just shrugged. "Doesn't matter. If I say it, people will believe me." And that's when I knew this wasn't just one of her usual guilt trips. This was an actual threat. I walked out. I didn't argue. I didn't fight. I didn't even tell her off. Because I knew she was going to try something stupid. The second I got home, I called my lawyer, a friend from NYU. Told him everything. He pulled my business registration documents, dated 5 years ago. Then, I called my Uncle Mark, one of the only sane family members. Uncle Mark sighed and said, "She's already planning to bring it up at the family barbecue." Oh, perfect. The barbecue was at my Aunt Rachel's house in Long Island. A big family event. Everyone was there. I arrived early, kept things casual. My mother, on the other hand, was basking in attention. Laughing, drinking, playing the victim. Halfway through, she stood up and tapped her wine glass. "I have something serious to say." The room went silent. She put on her best heartbroken expression and started her speech. "My own child has stolen from me," she said, her voice trembling like she was the main character in a tragic play. Gasps. Whispers. Everyone looked confused. "The business that should have been OUS, she's keeping it all for herself," she continued. My aunt put her drink down. "Wait, what? I spent my life raising her and this is how she repays me?" More gasps. More confused looks. Then, my mother turned to me and pointed her finger like she was in a courtroom drama. Tell them how you took my ideas and cut me out." Now, here's the thing about my mom. She lives for people agreeing with her. She thought this moment was going to be her grand victory. She thought I'd panic. She thought people would take her side. What she didn't know was that I had receipts. I leaned back in my chair, stayed calm. Then I signaled to my lawyer friend, who stood up and pulled out a folder. He walked over to the table, laid out several documents, and said in the calmest voice possible, "These are the legal registrations for her company. Filed 5 years ago. Your name is nowhere on it." And just like that, the room went dead silent. For the first time in my life, my mother looked lost. She just stood there, frozen, eyes darting between the papers and the faces around the room. The confidence she had walked in with? Gone. The fake heartbreak? Gone. People started shifting uncomfortably in their seats. My Aunt Rachel picked up one of the documents, squinted at the dates, and turned to my mom. "These are from 5 years ago, Carol." 5 years. Yeah, my mom's name is Carol. Fitting, right? My Uncle Mark let out a low whistle. Well, that's awkward. Now my mother's mouth opened, then closed. She blinked fast, like she was searching for the perfect lie. And then she found it. "Those are fake." I almost laughed out loud. My lawyer friend, bless him, did not even blink. He pulled out another paper, unfolded it slowly, and held it up. "This is from the state business registry. I can pull it up online right now if anyone wants to check." He took out his phone, tapped a few times, and turned the screen around. My business registration. Official. Public record. There was nowhere to run. And that's when my mother did what she does best. She changed tactics. She staggered back, hand to her chest like she had just been stabbed. "I can't believe you're doing this to me." Now she looked at the family, not me. "After everything I've done, after everything I've given up, this is how I'm treated?" People were not buying it. My Aunt Rachel sighed, rubbing her temple. "Carol, you lied. You made a huge scene, and you lied." My mother shook her head wildly, tears forming. "Real? No. Effective? Sometimes." I raised her alone. She sobbed. "I worked myself to the bone. And she sits there acting like I did nothing for her. I sacrificed my whole life, and now she thinks she's better than me." A couple of cousins glanced at me, waiting for me to react. I didn't. Not because I wasn't angry. Oh, I was furious, but because I knew how this worked. My mother had 3 tricks. Play the victim. If that doesn't work, get louder. If that doesn't work, break something. I didn't have to wait long to see which one she'd go for next. One of my younger cousins, probably trying to lighten the mood, chuckled nervously. "Bad move." My mother's head snapped in his direction, eyes wild. And then, crash. She grabbed a wine glass off the table and smashed it onto the floor. "You all think this is funny?" she screamed. "Do you know what I went through for this family? Do you know what I've done for her?" Silence. Then, my grandmother, who had been quiet up until now, slowly stood up. "Let me tell you something about my grandma. She is tiny, but she is terrifying. This woman once chased a raccoon out of her kitchen with a broom and then sat down to finish her coffee like nothing happened. She took one step forward, looked my mom dead in the eye, and said, 'Clean it up.' My mom blinked. 'What? You broke it. You clean it up.' Everyone was dead silent. And then, the unthinkable happened. My mother turned and ran. Not a dramatic storm out. Not a stomp and slam the door exit. She grabbed her purse and ran. Straight through the backyard. Through the gate. Down the sidewalk. Full sprint. Like she was being chased. No one moved. No one spoke. We all just watched her go. Finally, my Uncle Mark broke the silence. Did she just leave her own meltdown? And then, as if we had all been holding our breath, the entire family burst out laughing. But it wasn't over. At first, I thought this was the end of it. That she'd go home, cool off, and maybe, just maybe, be too embarrassed to ever bring it up again. Oh! I was so wrong. Because the next morning, my phone started blowing up. And it wasn't just her. It was family. Friends. Even an old high school classmate I hadn't spoken to in years. Because my mother had gone nuclear. She wasn't just lying to the family. She was lying to the entire internet. I opened Facebook. And there it was. A long, rambling post. All in caps. My ungrateful daughter stole everything from me. I worked my whole life and she took it all. I have nothing now. She humiliated me in front of everyone. She thinks she's better than her own mother. Please, if you love me, help me get justice. The comments? Unhinged. Half were people agreeing with her because she lied through her teeth. The other half? People asking for proof. And the best part? Someone had already posted the business registry link in the comments. It was spreading fast. I knew I had 2 choices, ignore it and hope it dies down. And this. I chose option 2. But before I could respond, my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. But something told me to answer. I did. And the voice on the other end? "Hello, is this my name? My name is Jennifer." I saw your mother's post, and I think you need to hear what I have to say. I had no idea who this woman was. But what she told me changed everything. I stepped away from my laptop, heart pounding as I pressed my phone tighter against my ear. Who are you? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The woman on the other end, Jennifer, sighed. I used to be your mom's friend. A long time ago. I need to warn you about something. A cold weight settled in my stomach. Jennifer hesitated, then continued. Your mother's done this before. I felt my breath catch. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not the first person she's tried to scam. And you're not the first person she's tried to take credit from. Jennifer told me she met my mom years ago at a job they both worked. She didn't go into details, but apparently, my mom had latched onto her, pretending to be a close friend while slowly stealing credit for Jennifer's ideas. It started small. My mom would repeat Jennifer's suggestions in meetings, taking all the praise. Then, she told their boss that Jennifer was stealing from the company, which was completely false. Jennifer was fired. My mother, of course, took her job. I didn't even realize what happened until it was too late, Jennifer admitted. By the time I put everything together, she had already moved on to her next target. I never thought I'd hear about her again. But when I saw that Facebook post, I knew it had to be you. I sank onto my couch. She had done this before. And now, she was doing it to her own daughter. Jennifer exhaled. I just wanted you to know, this won't stop. Not unless you make it stop. I thanked her. Hung up. Then, I made a decision. The first thing I did was call my lawyer again. We need to prepare for escalation, I told him. Because she's not done. I wasn't wrong. By that evening, she had started a GoFundMe. Yes, a GoFundMe. She called it, Help a Heartbroken Mother Reclaim What's Hers. The description? After years of sacrificing for my ungrateful daughter, she has stolen my business from me and left me with nothing. Please, help me get the legal support I need to fight for what's rightfully mine. I stared at the screen, jaw clenched. She had already raised over $1,500. I had kept quiet so far. I hadn't responded to the Facebook post. Hadn't defended myself. That changed now. I took a deep breath, opened my laptop, and started typing. Since my mother has decided to go public with her lies, I want to set the record straight. I laid out everything. How I built my business from the ground up. How my mother had no part in it. How she had threatened me when I refused to hand it over. The legal proof, the business registration, timestamps, and state records, showing she was lying. And finally, I posted the call recording from Jennifer. Yeah, I recorded that conversation. New York is a one-party consent state. I attached the GoFundMe link at the bottom with one sentence. If you donated, I suggest getting your money back before she scams you too. Then I hit post. It blew up instantly. Her Facebook post? Flooded with comments. People asking for refunds. People furious that they had been tricked. People calling her out for years of lies. And then? The GoFundMe was shut down. She didn't even get to keep the money. I could practically hear her screaming from across the city. And sure enough, she called. I stared at the screen. Then, slowly, I picked up. You think you're so smart, don't you? She hissed. I didn't say anything. You have no idea what you've just done. Then she hung up. Something about the way she said it made my stomach turn. Because it wasn't over. Not even close. The next morning, I got a call. Not from my mom. Not from Jennifer. But from the police. We need you to come in. We have some questions about a fraud report filed against you. I nearly dropped my phone. Fraud? She reported me for fraud. And the best part? She had proof. Or at least, she thought she did. My body went cold. Fraud? I gripped my phone tighter, trying to steady my breathing. This had to be a mistake. I don't understand, I stammered. The officer sighed, like he'd dealt with situations like this before. A woman named Carol, last name, filed a report claiming you forged business documents in order to steal her intellectual property. She's alleging financial fraud and misrepresentation. I let out a bitter laugh. Of course she did. The officer continued, Look, this is just a preliminary investigation. You're not under arrest or anything. But we do need you to come in and clear things up. I agreed and hung up. My lawyer was already on speed dial before my thumb left the screen. She's trying to drag me through a legal nightmare now, I told him. She reported me for fraud. There was a long pause. Then, in the calmest voice possible, he said, Let's bury her. The police meeting was short. I had every document in order. Every date. Every record. Every financial statement. My lawyer laid them out so neatly that the detective barely needed 10 minutes to conclude. Yeah, this isn't fraud. Looks like she's trying to retaliate. They filed it as a false report and said they'd handle it accordingly. Which meant they'd likely warn her and dismiss it, but it didn't matter. I had what I needed. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I went to my mother's apartment. I knocked on the door, heart pounding. I expected her to ignore me, but she didn't. She opened the door, and for a second, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Not rage. Not fake heartbreak. Fear. But she covered it quickly. Come to beg for forgiveness? She sneered. I stepped inside. You reported me to the police. She scoffed. I told the truth. I gave birth to you, raised you, and now you're trying to destroy me. I clenched my jaw. You knew that report wouldn't hold up. You knew you had no case. But you did it anyway. Why? And then, for the first time in my entire life, my mother snapped. Because you left me behind. She was shaking. Her hands balled into fists at her sides. Her face twisted into something ugly, desperate, furious. You were supposed to stay, she shrieked. You were supposed to take care of me. I gave up everything for you, and the second you had the chance, you ran. I stepped back. I had always known my mother was manipulative, controlling, but I had never seen it this raw before. This wasn't about my business. This was about control. She never wanted me to be successful because she knew that if I had my own life, I wouldn't need her. I exhaled slowly. You're right about one thing, I said. I did run. And it was the best decision I ever made. She recoiled like I had slapped her. You ungrateful little… No, I cut her off. You don't get to talk anymore. You tried to ruin me. You tried to drag me down because you couldn't stand the fact that I was doing fine without you. She gasped like I had stabbed her. But I wasn't done. I'm done with you. Completely. Forever. If you try to come near me, my business, or my life again, I will take legal action against you. And this time, it'll stick. Her face crumpled. For a split second, I saw panic. But then, as always, she covered it up with anger. Fine, she spat. Go be alone. But don't come crawling back when you realize you have NO1. I turned toward the door. Before I walked out, I looked back at her one last time. And I said the words I knew would haunt her forever. I never needed you. Then I left. I went no contact immediately. Blocked her number. Removed her from social media. Told my family what happened. Most of them were done with her too after the GoFundMe scam. She tried calling me from different numbers. She tried sending relatives to talk sense into me. I ignored everything. And slowly, the storm settled. The police never pressed charges against her, but the warning they gave her scared her enough to back off. The GoFundMe disaster destroyed her reputation. Even her friends, people who had known her for years, stopped talking to her. She lost. Completely. A year passed. My business thrived. I made new friends, built a life, and, most importantly, I felt free. No guilt. No second guessing. Just relief. But every now and then, I'd think about that last moment. The look on her face. The way she crumpled when she realized she had lost control over me. And sometimes I wondered, did she regret it? Did she sit in her apartment, alone, wondering if she had pushed too far? Or was she still convinced she had been the victim? I guess I'll never know. And honestly, I don't care. Because I'm finally free.